What is going on, you guys? Uh, I had a podcast interview set up, but we got our time zones mixed up because I'm in Texas and my guest was on the East Coast, and we just, you know, time zones are kind of interesting, don't you think? Like how they're lined up. They're not like a straight line. They don't follow the, what is it, latitude or the longitude? Who knows? I went to school in America. Um, but they just don't follow a straight line. Like I know, like you can live in El Paso and be in, I think they're in Mountain Time. I know that I don't think they do daylight savings in El Paso. It's daylight saving time, not daylight savings time, just to be clear. But anyway, some people say daylight. It's daylight. It's daylight saving time. Anyway, but then I think that you go into like certain parts of like, I don't know, New Mexico, like straight north of there, and they do daylight saving time. I don't know, man. It's really silly. I think what, Arizona, Nevada, I don't think they do it either. Really weird, right? Like you'd figure there would just be kind of like one standard. How about the fact that we're in the year 2026 here in the United States, and then there are other countries around the world who are in like a totally different year because they don't base their calendar off of the Gregorian calendar. Is that what we do? Um, it's kind of crazy. So anyway, I just wanted to throw on a recording anyway because I wanted to push something out. Now, this is going to be accompanied with just an audio podcast, an audio episode, because the guest that I had recorded with a while back, our video was just clunky. It just got really clunky, and sometimes, like on his end, it would freeze at weird moments where his mouth was like a jar. A jar. You know what that means? A jar. It was like wide open, a jar. Like when you leave your car door ajar. And I didn't want to embarrass him because I think that's one of the things that like we don't do a good job of sometimes as people, is just really respecting somebody else's their time, their autonomy, and like just giving them the courtesy to ensure they look good. And maybe my years of public affairs and public relations kind of like brought that in light, but I think that should be kind of normal, don't you? Like if you're, just put yourself in my shoes, for example, like hosting this little podcast that, wherever it goes, who knows? Don't care. I just like doing this, and I like having the conversation and bringing to you some good conversations with people that I think are really great. But so it's on my end to not make them look good because they already look good, but ensure they don't look bad or foolish or any of that stuff. I used to work for like generals and colonels and stuff like that, and the army. And one of my jobs was to ensure that the army looked good. And for the most part, the army always did look good, but we sure as shit weren't perfect. Like we had some issues here and there. And sometimes when you had those issues, you had to do your best to massage it a little bit. But sometimes facts just are more important than making something look beautiful. Like we used to say, shit, shine a boot, or you can't shine a boot with mud. Whatever. I've been out for 10 years. I hardly remember these things anymore, which is kind of a plus, I guess. But if something's not good, it's just not good. The conversation is really good that I had with this guy, Victor Gardner. But the video just was kind of wonky. So I was kind of sitting on it for a while because I was like, man, should I re-record? But I don't like to do that because in the conversation it can be totally different. And if you had good conversation out of this person at the time, you don't want to lose that necessarily, right? So Vic and I go back to my days in the Army, of course. I mean, pretty much all my guests have been veterans, if you haven't noticed, except for one with Ross. And Ross might as well be a veteran. He's from New York, he's a veteran of a lot of things. But Victor Gardner and I, we were in combat camera together. We were both broadcast journalists in the Army. It was called like public affairs broadcast journalists. Were we really journalists? No, we were just like writing the good things. Anyway, so I met Vic there in 55th Combat Camera when I was at Fort Meade, Maryland. It was right when I got out of like my retraining at the Defense Information School to go into that field for the army, but I ended up in ComCam, as we call it, combat camera. And Vic was one of our guys there, one of our broadcast journalists who was stuck in a platoon full of combat cameramen who really didn't know what to do with them, just like they didn't know what to do with me and the other public affairs cats that were in this unit, because the way the army does things is it's always sometimes screwy. I was going to say it, but I didn't. But sometimes it's screwy, and it takes some time to get things ironed out. It's a big organization, okay? It's huge, and it's not going to be perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Why would you ever expect an organization with over 1 million people in it to be perfect, right? And you have war fighters, and you're trying to like do missions and all that, and then you're trying to balance out these small little specialized units and figure out what kind of career field, job field soldiers need to be in those units to make them function well. You know, I realized that wasn't a place for us, for my career field in that unit. So I kind of like started raising my hand a little bit, and I think it helped some. I think that I helped get some of those guys onto some good assignments, and if not, I apologize. That's probably their fault anyway, not mine. I say that in jest, but I tried to do my best. That was a good leadership test for me when I got into that unit. I was a young staff sergeant and a new staff sergeant and a new MOS, and then in a unit that I really needed to find a footing in, if that makes sense. And so I kind of did my best. And Vic was one of these guys that was he was like me, and he wanted to shove, just wanted to shove, and he wanted to do good things. He wanted to get as much experience as he could too. And so and he was from Washington, D.C., which is, we were right outside of DC at Fort Meade. So we'd go down there a couple of times, went to the Pentagon channel, to the Pentagon, et cetera, things like that. And it was fun. It was fun learning about him. So our careers then went different ways. And he retired, I think he said about 2-3 years ago. I believe he said as a master sergeant. You'll hear it in this interview. But now he's a professor. He's teaching at a school, at a higher learning. He's written a book, and I think he has more coming out. I can't remember if he published the other ones yet. It's been a little bit since we did this interview, and I still need to talk to him. He wants me to do his voiceover work for his books, which I'm really thrilled for, but it's also scary for me because I've never done that. I've done some voiceover work. And I know you're like, yeah, Jason, your voice is immaculate. We love listening to you talk, but sometimes we want to hear other people talk. Point is I really want to do it for him, as long as I don't put too much on my plate, you know? Because I want to do a good job. That's the whole point. Again, is if you can't give something your best, I don't think it's that you shouldn't do it. You just shouldn't do it in a sense of like pretending that it's your best, if that makes sense, you know? Like if you're cooking dinner for your family and you're just not feeling it that day, you're just like, I really don't feel like boiling water. It's just, it's such a drain, man. I think that's okay. You know, maybe instead of boiling the water, you serve them the dry noodles. I don't know. But point is that if you're just doing it half-assed and you're trying to present it as full-assed, then your consumers know they're gonna feel that, and then they're not gonna like it. Your kids aren't gonna like what you make for dinner, and they're gonna reject you, and it's gonna be very painful. So you shouldn't do that. So point is, I didn't want to bury this podcast at all with Vic, because he's a great dude and it's a great conversation. He's a friend. I didn't want to do anything weird with it, you know. I've thought about doing AI and like trying to see if I could replicate his face and then like massage it over it. And but no, that's really weird, man. Like, you know, in like the Star Wars episodes, whenever they had like young Leia, it didn't look good. It looked so weird, man. Young Luke. Did you see the Mandalorian and Grogu movie? Have you seen that? I saw it with Hunter, my son. I liked it. It is what it is. I think some people, I don't know why, man. Some people think that Star Wars movies are made to get Oscars, and they're not. They might get an Oscar for their CGI, their effects, you know, like Industrial Light and Magic. That was cutting edge, way ahead of its time. And for the most part, I'd say it still is. And they do cool stuff. But like Grogu was puppeteered most of that movie, maybe all of it. I'm not 100% sure on that. Like Jon Favreau, he produced it, directed it, wrote it, etc. Just like he did the series, the Mandalorian series. So it's essentially, to me, like this a really long episode of The Mandalorian, and it has a little bit of, some bows on some of the storylines. But there's people that are always going to complain. Like there's people that don't like Rey from the more recent Star Wars movies. Like, bro, who cares, man? It's not gonna. Is it really gonna change your life? And if you don't like it, then write your own. Like, there's nothing. This is always my point too, and I tell my sons this. There's nothing stopping you from doing what this guy's doing and that guy's doing and that guy's doing. Look at the guy in charge now of the country. Like, you can achieve in this country. I'm telling you, you can do whatever you want. You just like gotta grind a little bit. You gotta put forth some effort. Maybe you gotta bullshit people. You gotta lie to people, con them, whatever you gotta do. But if you want to achieve, you can do it. So there's no excuse for failure in this country unless you're choosing to fail. I get it. Some people are born in hard times. Some people go through really rough stuff. But there's paraplegic athletes. Like, what more do you want? Things handed to you. Like, if you're still breathing, you can still do things. You just have to adjust your focus a little bit. You got to change your angles sometimes. I mean, when I was working for the VA, I met dudes that had their legs blown off, they were paralyzed from neck down, and they were still coming in and still working, still doing their physical therapy, still learning, still trying to just figure it out, man. So let's just do the episode. Shall we? I just, like I said, I don't know, man. I know there's things that really get people down, and it can be hard. I know life can be hard. It can punch you right in the gut, and repeatedly sometimes. But it's all about how you just get back up and keep moving forward. Learn some self-defense and avoid those traps, those rabbit holes, whatever it is that where you got caught and you fell down or someone pushed you down, whatever it is. Avoid that situation. Go around it. Move. I mean, I know people who live in like lifelong poverty and they'll complain about it. But what have you done to change that besides just accept it? Like you have to like, you got to work, man. And I think sometimes people just have this expectation that life should be grand. We're animals, by the way. Let's not forget, we're mammals. We're animals, right? And have the most intelligent brains on the planet. Of course, if whales could speak, they might outdo us, and dolphins too. But we create things, we build things, we make shit, all the time. Like, I get amazed by some of the stuff that is out there. This computer I'm using right now. Could you imagine, like 20 years ago, for you Gen Xers, being able to do like a video that you just record and then pop, 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 and put it on the internet, or video chat? You can take your phone, your device, and you can video chat with anybody in the world as long as they have something similar. I mean, dude, that's amazing. And I still don't know how it works technically. I mean, it's like we have all these signals going everywhere. It can't be great for our bodies, but here we are. So yeah, I know it's not always easy, man, and life can get you down, but life can also get you up. And I think when they say, look for the helpers, hunt the good stuff, and don't sweat the small things that will take you down. It's no way to live life. It really isn't. So I'm 48. I turned 48 recently. I feel like I'm probably past my halfway point. It sucks, but I'm healthy, and I'm very thankful for that. And I mean, I have friends that aren't in their fullest health, and I'm sad for them. And they're in my thoughts all the time, and not all the time. Let's be real. We're not always in each other's thoughts, but I do think about them. And I always just think, like, what could I do to make their life better? I don't know, probably nothing, because I'm not an oncologist or a surgeon. But I can send them a message and just say, I'm thinking about you and hope that you do better, or whatever, and like, I think that it's helpful. I had a friend ask me very recently, like, they had a friend who lost a parent, like suddenly lost a parent. And that friend asked, I don't know what to say. Like, I feel like nothing's really adequate. And they're right. Nothing's really adequate. But saying something is better than saying nothing, even if it's the old "I'm sorry for your loss." I think that goes a long way versus just not even acknowledging. And nobody likes funerals. Nobody does. So if someone ever tells you like why they didn't show up to your father's service because they don't like funerals, tell them like, well, I guess I'll miss yours. Enjoy the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. It's another podcast, baby. It's another podcast, baby. Yeah. It's another podcast, baby. Yeah. Baby. With Jason Kucera, you know. Sit down and relax. Gonna take you on a ride through an army career. A little this, a little that. Talking with Victor Gardner from the way of DC, don't you know? Oh! Another podcast with Jason Kucera. Save it to your desktop.
First and foremost, Victor Gardner, thanks for coming on to my new podcast. And where are you today?
Well, another Jason Kucera podcast.
Yeah.
First of all, ladies and gentlemen, let me explain who I am and why I know this guy. I think it's this way because of the screen. I think it's this way. So we have a history, a long history, going back to, I believe, 2005, about 2005, when I first was at a unit called 55th Combat Cameron, right?
A unicorn.
This guy and me were one of maybe 3 or 4 people in our career field at this location.
Yeah.
So we were hated, but loved at the same time.
Right.
But again, this goes way, way back. It's something called a battle buddy. If you've never been in the military, Jason is more than a battle buddy. He's a friend. For me, there's very few people I confide in or talk to or consider a friend, especially from the military. Jason is one of them. I will tell you my quick history. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a broadcaster. Same way Jason still is, because he's doing this. By trade, I'm a dad, a husband, an author, a speaker entrepreneur, an instructor, everything under the sun. I'm happy. So from there, dude, whatever you want to go into, we can talk about personal, professional. The floor is yours to ask away.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks again for coming on, because it's great having you. When I was thinking about doing this again, and I started going like, I want to compile my top, man. I don't want this to be insulting to people that come later, right? But I wanted to do like this top 10 list of people that I want to record with first, basically, and like front load this sucker. And we know how podcasts go. There's an ebb and flow, like with the people that have on, even guys like a Joe Rogan will have some really boring guests sometimes, and they'll have some really, really good people, right? It's just how it goes. But I was thinking about like the first time I met you at 55th and on from there, and then like that we've always kept up with each other throughout our careers. And I'm glad for that, whenever I could chime in on your podcast, I would. And but it's been nice, and I appreciate all those sentiments and stuff, because going back to 55th, that was a pinnacle for my career of like a whole change. And honestly, the guy I was then is nowhere near the guy I am now, or the guy that I became later in my career. But I was like just getting divorced. I had just come into that career field, and I go to a unit that has nothing to do with that career field, and you're like, so like, it was a lot of changes going on. But the best part about that unit though is the camaraderie was insane. I've never been in another unit where the camaraderie was that strong. Even in infantry units, it was never like that. It was like way more competitive. 55th was about supporting one another, ensuring everybody had the best tools possible to do their job for the most part. And, but the junior enlisted were just like so incredibly tight, and sometimes to a fault, but for the most part, it was a pretty well oiled machine. And so, and again, it's pretty much a unicorn. There's some, and so for people playing catch up here, and like we're spewing jargon, I guess, but like in the Army, you have combat camera, you have broadcast journalists, you have public affairs, all these things, right? That communicate, tell the Army story outwardly, right? And for the Army, there's only one active duty combat camera unit, correct? Correct me if
Correct.
I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's just 55th, which is technically a signal unit, falls under signal command.
Oh,
Not anymore?
dude, we
Yeah,
control them now.
Oh, so public affairs suck them in?
Yes, we control all of you combat cameramen who don't want to be in front of the camera.
Right.
You belong to us. I'm joking.
Now, did they again, we're just gonna press ahead. Who cares? Did
Yeah.
they, I know with in the Army, like public affairs wise, broadcast journalists and print journalists like combined, right?
Yes.
Into one. Now with Comcam, have they done the same thing? Like they sucked up into, or is it still like a little separate?
So a couple years ago, well, let me bring everybody up to speed, or Jason.
I know we're out, but
Yeah, we've been out. I've been out for 2 years, right? So I've kept up a little bit, but I'm trying to wean myself off because
yeah.
I have no control what happens there now, right? But basically, what happened
Nice.
was several years ago, there was a letter of intent for the 46 series to absorb the 25 series. A year or so ago, like just after I retired, it became true. There was still a division. There were still 2 sergeant majors. There were still, this, that, and the third. But they turned the 25 series into a 25 something or 46 something. So, like, we're 46. Uh-oh.
What's up?
I lost your video. Well, as long as you can see me, that's
I
fine.
can see you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened on my end. I guess the government is watching and listening.
Then it means you made it. Like, it means you made it.
Hey, Edward Snow. But anyway.
Yeah.
So they absorbed the series, and now it's all 46, right? And just this year, on back now, just this year, we've become our own proponent.
Okay. Yeah. So not part of
No, we are
affairs
on.
fund or like adjutant. I don't need to
Yeah,
remember anymore, but
adjutant
yeah.
general. Oh,
Yeah.
we got rid of adjutant general a long time ago.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a conversation between Jason and I and other military folks.
I've been out 10 years now, dude. Like this will
I
be
know.
August, 10 years for me, and it blows my mind all the time. And I'll see the Army Public Affairs Center APAC come up on my Facebook feed, and I'm like, oh, I want to say something. And then I'm like, who cares? Who cares?
That's
They
one
don't-
thing we off too.
Yeah, and then like they don't want to hear from you. They're like, get out of here, boomer. Like you're gone, dude. Like you don't worry about it. But the one thing that I will say though regarding some of that stuff though is like some of the legacy, the way things were. Sometimes you still need some of that, it's like the backbone and all this stuff. And like when it goes away, my oldest son, tech kid, going to tech and everything, his grandfather is a petroleum engineer. He's been retired for like several years, but he went into consulting because he kept getting called back from the people he'd worked with, the companies, because all this talent is leaving. The experience is going away. I'm looking at the military right now, and I feel like that's a big problem because of what's going on. And you're like, hang on, bro. Like if like 10 years ago, I don't think any of that happens. And, we both have very strong opinions on politics. And I don't want to dive too much into that with this, but at the same time, like we're retired soldiers. We care about the soldiers now, of course, and all of them, right? Marines, Navy, Air Force, whatever, Space Force. But like, I've become honestly, like, I'm not a conscientious objector or anything like that, but I feel like the only reason you go to war is when you have to, like you have to, because we come from a generation of people who are, for lack of a better term, got pretty fucked up, like the VA has historical amounts of people entering into VHA all the time because of the amount of veterans produced over the last 20, 25 years. But war veterans, guys with serious issues to minor issues, whatever it might be, some of it's all in here, some of it's physical, but like it's through the roof. And sorry, my screen just tried to turn off, but like I'm plugged in, so that's weird. But anyway, it's through the roof. And so yeah, like that, I don't know, man. It's so weird. And it's stranger than fiction,
Yeah,
without a
but
doubt.
it's reality,
But
dude.
it is reality. We're here.
I mean, I know you don't want to go too deep into it, but we can tie it up right here, or you can keep going. I look at what we went through. I joined in 2004, right? After 9/11 had taken place and some other things. I did delayed, but I joined. We were raised during wartime in the military. Maybe not as deep as Vietnam, maybe not deep as the Korean conflict, but we just got out of those areas.
Yeah.
And now the current administration is taking this new group back in it, but under totally different circumstances and totally different care and totally different activities, right? Like you said, we were messed up physically and mentally from a lot of stuff, right? Not everybody can say they're completely sane, after that. This generation right now that's going in, they're not be all you can be. They're not army of one. They're not whatever. They're follow the leader or get in trouble. And that's not how it's supposed to be. However,
yeah,
in our career field, you said something that made me think. Gary Bartell passed away several years ago. And if you know anything about military broadcasting, Gary Bartell was the pinnacle for radio and things of that nature. When they took away radio from the broadcast curriculum, they found that they had to bring it back.
I didn't know that. Well,
yeah. Oh, dude, they took it away for like 4 or 5 years.
Well,
it's the
and
best
now,
part of the gig.
yeah, dude,
I loved radio, dude.
Exactly, right? And TV, when they took away the Pentagon channel.
Yeah.
The Pentagon channel, where I bet you right now, if Pete Hegseth sees this, that would be his biggest, I don't care, propaganda machine that he could use, because they would make them say all types of stuff on funded television.
Yeah.
But when we were there, we were really reaching back home so that family members could see what was going on with their loved ones.
That was the whole point. Yeah, absolutely.
And broadcasting was great. But enough reminiscing. I know you want to go to current times and stuff, but
but honestly, but on that, like, because like that was the thing that, so like Vic and I, the Pentagon channel for youngsters was around for quite some time. It was operated in DC. I don't think it was at the Pentagon. Like, we went there one time. You and I went there with a couple of dudes, and because we were trying to, dude, come on, man, I could go on. We were trying to get combat camera stuff onto the Pentagon channel. We had like, listen, I was signed for like 5 Avid suites, 4 or 5, whatever, right? That's where they made Lord of the Rings on Avid, right? Like, I mean, we had so many amazing tools. We got these amazing MacBook not MacBooks, but like Macintosh, the professional setup, like all this stuff, right? And I was like, got all this shit going on, man. Like, the Pentagon channel, it's cool, but we got cool shit, And then I was like, I think I was trying to create a where we could go down there and work, like for broadcasting,
a partnership.
Right? Yeah, you're trying to do all this stuff, and it's like, but we'd always get shoved back, that's a pretty good idea, but we need you here to do what? To stand around after day. Like,
train.
Just stare at your camera like, like, dude. Anyway, so the Pentagon channel, though, it was fairly robust. I mean, they had a pretty nice setup. They would have a newscast. And like Vic was saying, that's what it was for, was to inform the American public of what the military was doing. And was a good resource though for like family members and loved ones, anyone interested in the military. Talk about a recruiting tool, right? I mean, you had all this
Absolutely.
stuff, and then they'd air AFN stuff, like so.
Yep.
Or if you're overseas watching on AFN, which for those that don't know, that's what American Forces Network.
Yep.
It used to be Armed Forces Network, but they had to change that for whatever reason.
hmm
I don't know, like changing the name to Department of War. Like, what are we doing? But yeah, you're projecting, gentlemen. So you're very projecting. So, but like it was a really good tool. And I'm sure like the advent of YouTube and everything going very digital really hurt the
Streaming.
channel's vitality. Because I mean, it's like they had it on cable for a while. I remember
Yep.
it being on regular cable. And
Yep.
I don't know if well, it's gone now, but like I don't know if that so much hurt, if they had to pay to put it on to cable networks or what it was. But man, talk about a good tool, just like with Voice of America. Use Voice of America to spread information across the world to like some of your targets. And some of it might be a little propagandist, but like they've been talking about with Iran is one of the things we can't communicate with the Iranians because we don't have Voice of America. You got the budget. Like,
Yeah,
it's
bruh,
so weird. How does it come back
bruh.
into play?
See, that's why we're the old heads now.
And you can see it. Like you can see like why it's useful. And they get like we
Yes.
retire. And granted, everyone like Alex Lucia. Did you know Lucia?
Yeah, he's now Sergeant Major Lucia.
Yeah, he's at Fort Knox. Yeah, I just saw on Facebook he's retiring next year. He just got approved for retirement, and I was like immediately like, I gotta interview that guy. But he was in my senior leadership course whenever I went. I had a really good SLC, dude. Like I had so many people that made it. I'm like I'm like the loser of the bunch. What the hell?
No, no, you're not. No, you're not, because I'll put it this way, bro. God has a way. I know, not super religious, but God has a way of taking us out of situations that we think we might be great at. Like, I'm not gonna BS you, and I know you're gonna edit this, but I hit my 20-year mark, right?
Yeah.
And I was ready to retire anyway. I didn't get the first sergeant position I wanted, which was cool, not a big deal, because I played the role for 9 months. I had it on my NCOER, but there was some other BS that took place, and I'm like, whatever, man. So I start regular retiring. I don't know if you remember, but a while back in 2012, this after we had left 55th, I had a very serious neck injury, and I have metal in my neck, right? So I decided to retire, and I've been fighting all this pain in my neck, right? And you got to carry those rucks and all that other stuff, right? So during my exit examination, they discovered a whole bunch of stuff was wrong as to why I was having that pain. God works, right? I'm not going to mention the person that told me, hey, look, I want to send you here. And you do 1 year here, I'm sending you directly to Sergeant Major's Academy. And I said, that sounds really good, but I know how that works. I go there, you're going to sit me at a position as an E8, do the Sergeant Major's job, then pin me Sergeant Major after like 2 or 3 years. Then I can do Sergeant Major for another 3 years. So you really want to give me for 6 or 7 years. And that's okay. On the operating table, I have an issue. Then I learned, okay, now I'm diabetic, right? So I'm like, this ain't worth it. I know if I got to go to Sergeant Major's Academy, I'm going to smoke it, because I just finished MLC, right, Master's Leaders course, and I was one of the top ones there, and it's the same material, just a Sergeant Major's Academy. So I made the decision. I'll go into medical with 20 years. But the problem that I see now, the folks that went ahead of me, that was in my SLC and stuff like that, that made Sergeant Major before me, a lot of them had to deal with the yes, sir, yes, yes, I can't say that. That's not me.
Right. Yeah.
Jason knows. Exactly.
Yeah.
Jason knows I am not one to shy away from confrontation, no matter what level it comes from. And I am not a yes man or yes NCO. My first priority would or was the soldier. not making somebody's OER look good or whatever. And if you're going to tell me, hey, we're going to dangle this in front of you, that carrot, my health, my mental, and everything else meant way more to me than having that notch on my belt and being somebody's yes person. And, you know, we, especially in our career field, we have all this knowledge to share with the younger folks that didn't get it because Defense Information School cut it out, or Department of Defense cut it out. Defense Media Activity, which is DMA, which controls, you know, all the broadcasters now, and AFN, says, nah, we don't really need it. Only to find out you do need it. And now you got to hire somebody from the outside to instruct it because you have no instructors that went through it. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, yeah. No, I'm sitting here thinking of my instructors who are all long gone, who are really, really good. And, you know, it's like, well, I mean, obviously there's people that are going to come that are learned and all this stuff, you know, but I don't know. It just seems like a whole different ball game. Like there's Chris Eater, you know, like a
Chris.
friend.
Yeah.
I only know Chris from when I was at AFN in Korea. He was in Italy, I believe. And he was in charge of AFN the Eagles playlist and all this kind of stuff. So we communicated a lot then and have just stayed in touch ever since. Never met in person, but what I know about him is he's a really good leader. He was very experienced as a broadcaster and all this stuff. But him not there any longer, that's a loss for the Air Force. I think the Air Force, Darwin may be doing a little better now. I don't know, whatever, as far as career management goes with some broadcasters. But the Air Force was always, if you're a broadcaster, you're a broadcaster. And that's what your whole career was, you know. And when I was in Korea, I met a lot of great ones. I mean, our Air Force kids were fantastic. We almost like 55th, which was really weird. I had two soldiers from 55th come over to AF in Korea when I was there. They were Romeos, right? Romeos were repair kids, right?
Yeah.
They did that stuff. But guess what? They ended up on the air because A, you know, I did a little training with them, but B, we didn't have enough broadcasters, you know, we just didn't, because they were like wherever and stuff like that. And I remember I got in a little trouble. I got, you know,
bro,
button heads, you know, but I was,
you had to do what you had to do as a station manager, right?
Well, just getting, like trying to get more folks over there. And I ended up getting into it with our career manager, my first sergeant at the time, who ended up at Hood with me later. We became, you know, tight, but it was one of those things where it was just like, if I see that things are wrong, I'm going to say it, you know, like I'm just, and like you, I was never just this, yes, sir, like I'm going to go and do it. I just never was. It was like, and I don't know why. And sometimes I felt wrong about it, but I would question a lot of things, you know. I was just like, why would we do that? Why are we doing that? This doesn't make sense, you know. And it still boggles my mind. There's people that exist in this world today who never question anything. They just had to go along. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it. Like
they don't want that pushback. They don't want to have that stigma of being the difficult NCO or
no conflict.
I was, look, bro, we can go story for story. Last thing I'm gonna say on this is I was up for a couple first sergeant positions because my resume says great stuff, right? But then it becomes, well, he's combative. And I'm like, so you can't deal with me just because you think I'm going to shoot everything. As an advisor,
right?
That's what the advisor's supposed to do. Sir, ma'am, I like the idea. Have we thought about? That's the job of an advisor. I guess they subscribe to the current administration's way of advising. Yes, all hail, greatness. You created the world and we're just living. No. This is the role I've taken as a professor now, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the students I have, they come from different areas. And one course that I teach is called intercultural communications. And I just like, I say things and I bring up things that they are like, they're shocked. A professor's doing. I'm like, yeah, how else you gonna learn about somebody if you don't understand who they are or what they're going through? Take a perspective from this person, that person. I had one student come to the class and he looked He looked like he was from the hood. No joke. Turns out he is from the hood, but he was also a valedictorian.
Hmm.
And he also got a full ride to a private institution. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And he also is very good in class. So the first impression is, oh, he's going to be difficult. But until you work with them, you don't know.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
What got
I
you?
think
What pushed you that direction to get into
teaching,
working for? Yeah.
bro, I've always wanted to teach on the college level. Before joining the military, I was a middle school instructor. In fact, this
Okay.
is part of the story as to why I joined. We literally had a TV. I was the only person that had a TV in the school. We literally watched the second plane crash into the Twin Towers.
Mhm.
Shortly thereafter, like, I don't know, 20 minutes later, we saw the plane go directly into the Pentagon. Now, this is the part that really got me wanting to join the military. The plane that went into the Pentagon went into the side where some of my students' parents were supposed to be.
Mm.
They were bawling. 26, 27 years old, not knowing how to deal with this and becoming a grief counselor on the spot.
Were you living in DC then?
DC,
Teaching?
yes.
Okay. Yeah. So that just quick background there. I guess like you grew up in DC, correct?
Yes. Born and
So,
raised
like-
Washington, D.C.
So this sits in the Pentagon. So this is down the road from you. It's like down the street.
Exactly.
So you have military brats in your classroom.
No. These weren't military brats. I was at a private school, a private Christian school.
Okay.
And these are civilians, mom and dad. Yeah, DoD,
Okay.
Department of Defense
Okay.
employees. And it turns out that two of, I think, five of the kids' parents that were there had just moved out or just left the area that got hit.
Wow.
So backtrack a little bit. Graduated University of District of Columbia with a degree in business administration. Had a great offer for a young kid back in 2000, 2001 to work for MCI, telecommunications area. Folks that don't remember MCI,
Right.
yeah,
They used to even make phones, man.
yeah, but it was an office job. And at the time I was a Sunday school teacher.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, for those that don't believe, God works for me in mysterious ways. He gave me the opportunity to be a teacher for like $10,000 less than what I was going to make during the other job. MCI shortly went out of business and Verizon bought them. A lot of people got laid off. I would have been one of those people.
Sure.
But I began teaching because I loved doing it at Sunday school. And then while I was instructing these middle school folks, I found that I had a love for watching a kid actually understand something.
Yeah.
I wasn't to get the light bulb goes off, right?
Right.
And I was the mean teacher too. I was the loud, mean male teacher. But what really hit my heart was during graduation. The valedictorian or the salutatorian, she mentioned me by name and gave me credit for bringing her and her father together. Now, a lot of people were like, because I was that instructor. Parents came to me, I went back at them. Probably shouldn't have, but I did, right? I don't care if you're paying.
We're paying too much money for this teacher not to do what we want him to do.
Exactly, but you want to bring your kid to school late and you want me to pass.
Entitlement.
Exactly, right? But that one, I believe her name was Ashley. Forgive me if it wasn't, but she mentioned that. And that gave me the spirit and it hit that ember inside me to say, I'm going to teach. I went, joined the military, of course. When I got out, high paying job, but somebody got elected. And I knew what that was like when I was deployed the first time he got elected.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm not doing that again. So I left, and then again, God, I go to a job fair at this university that I had applied to several times online
Hmm.
because the lady talked to me. She already had my resume, but she put a face and an energy to that resume. I got hired.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with my degree. Nothing to do with my degrees, my master's or my undergraduate. But the 20 years I spent doing communications for the military, that experience.
Yeah.
So,
So my first 10 years in the Army, I was a chaplain assistant.
Mhm.
The best decision I made was reclassing to broadcast journalism because everything I've done since has something to do with that. When I retired, I walked out of the Army. I was already hired by the Navy to work as a public affairs specialist at the Naval Air Station back home in Corpus Christi. Why did I ever leave that job? Nobody knows. But I did. But it was probably the best thing I could have stuck with. But real quick. So I did that. Then I went and worked at Driscoll Children's Hospital as a public relations manager. And that's kind of why I left the Navy, because I was like, I wanted to be more local, like not behind the gates. I wanted to be part of my community.
Mhm.
I lasted a year. Toxic leadership. Horrible. And it sucks because you're at a children's hospital. You can't beat the mission. But
Yeah.
when the bureaucracy and all this stuff, and this is the thing, when you're leaving the military, like they try to prep you, they try to do all this stuff, and they do more than probably any other entity could probably do for people that are leaving, right?
Mhm.
But the hardest thing is that you get into situations where people got into their positions by just waiting it out, longevity,
Mhm.
the seniority and all this stuff. They have no leadership skills, they have no vision, they have no managerial ideals, and it hurts. It sucks, especially whenever you've been around it. And you've seen both. In the military for the longest time,
Mhm.
you're going to have bad leaders and good leaders. The good leaders stick out, and the bad leaders stick out. And if you're somewhere in the middle, you're doing pretty good. And
Mhm.
so that was, I couldn't do it. It's like I'm like I don't want to end my life young. Not like, but
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
just stress. Like whatever. I was like, I'm not doing that shit. I'll do something else. And so anyway, point being is everything I've done post Army has had something to do with public affairs or broadcasting, and it sent me in the best direction possible. I still have tons of memories from the first half of my career and friends, and I have like multiple chaplains on my Facebook that I'll communicate with sometimes, and I'm going to try to get one on here eventually. I was in Iraq with him, and our experiences were just incredible. So like when I
Mhm.
went to Iraq in 03, I was a chaplain assistant, and things were very different then, and then the things you'd see were very different. But point being is that guy just great personality. He was the 18th Airborne Corps chaplain for a while and stuff like that, so he kind of made it.
Mhm.
Um, saying all this is like, again, where you go after the military, you kind of never really know. I mean, it's just you're
Nope.
going to go off these variances. Like you're saying, God wills you to that place, then that's really great. I mean, honestly, it is. And I think, like for me personally, it's just been like whatever I'm comfortable with, and I'm not willing
Mhm.
to go past that comfort zone anymore. And sometimes, but it's like, but I realize like it takes some time to realize like what your limits are and what you
Mhm.
want to be challenged to. Because I mean, just yesterday, I was walking my dog in my neighborhood, and this big old dog comes out of. I have a big dog, like I have a Bernedoodle. He's a doodle, but he's big.
Yeah.
And this dog that was his size but hefty comes charging at us. I see a threat, dude. Like right away, I'm like, that's a threat to me. Chances are he's not going to do anything. And he came up and he just wanted to smell my dog's butthole. But my dog was so good. He just stood there. He was like, hey, man. But the other dog was jumping around. And of course, I'm like, get on, motherfucker. All this stuff.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
these people are down the street just staring. So I start yelling at them. I'm like, you want to come get your effing dog? Come get your effing dog. And then, of course, as you walk away, I'm going like, bro, like, you could have handled that better. Number two, the suburbs. Like people don't, there's the like one of the things to realize too when you leave is like no one has self-awareness, dude. No one has self-awareness. There's entitlement, all this stuff. And it's just like I think everyone's doing their best as much as they can. But
Mhm.
honestly, what we pick up in the military, and not everybody does, but for the most part, what we pick up in the military, doing your best is really up here. And I feel like a lot of everyone else is doing their best.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just getting by and like
The
you said,
standard,
ignoring reality. Yeah, just going
Yes.
home and putting on Netflix and eating and going to bed, dude, and getting up and going to work and doing your commute again. You know, it's just like, and that's the way to get through life. I hope I have retirement when I'm 65. You know, well, I hope you do too. But good chances
You're not.
today. Yeah, like, or they're gonna fire you, like when you're
Yes.
within a year of retirement, because that shit happens all the time. Why is
Bro.
that not like encapsulated, protected? You know, like you get within 5 years of say retirement, you've been with a company 25, 30 years, they cannot lay you off. If they do, they have to pay you retirement. I don't know.
Dude, that's what they do with us, right? Once you're at year 18,
Protected.
you're somewhat protected. As long as you don't do really, really bad stuff.
Yeah, don't do anything
But
heinous.
yeah, nothing heinous. But the commitment to, as you said, the standard up here versus the standard down here, right? I'll put it this way. And I really didn't want to join the military. I really didn't. I'm not gonna put my wife's business out there because it's your podcast, but I really didn't want to. But it's one of the best things that happened because I didn't know I could be a broadcaster. I'm gonna be honest, I did not know I could be a broadcaster, right? I went through
Best
my
job.
entire trial and tribulations. I joined as an officer, didn't work out. God's plan, right? Ron Burgundy, bro. If not for Ron Burgundy,
That was the era.
yeah, you know. And the thing about it is, Jason, we're the X. We're the X generation. F around and find out. For real. We're the real FAFOs.
They're
We're
not
the
letting their
real,
dog out anymore.
not only without a leash, right?
Yeah.
We're the real FAFOs, right? So having the direction and the discipline that we had from growing up being a latchkey kid to getting into the military, having that structure, and then being young enough, people, dude, we're really young. At least we look really young. I'm about to be 50. Some people still think I'm like in my 30s.
Close
Right?
it in. Yeah.
But the thing is, we have that.
Yeah.
And it's ingrained in us to be that way. It drove me to write my books. Dude, one of the best things, like you said, having direction, one of the best things I did that I had never done before, go to therapy.
Yeah.
Go to therapy. My therapist, literally, this is how I started writing books, bro. Because I always wanted to do it. But I don't got the time. You know, I'm trying to get promoted. Dude, we were getting to the root of one of my issues.
Mm-hmm.
She said, write down a couple paragraphs about the situation. I wrote a book. Well, what I gave her was like 2 chapters, not a couple paragraphs. And from there, I went and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And I found that it was so therapeutic getting all this stuff out of me and then finding my creative side that we couldn't use in the military because we got to,
Yeah.
say
follow
things
the
a certain way.
same
right?
Channel. Yeah.
Exactly. But when I discovered I could write science fiction that related to current time,
Yeah.
and then my memoir, and then I wrote a book not as popular. I get it, or none of them really popular, but how to communicate to with government officials, and the things that we've learned through, like you said, SLC, which is Senior Leaders Course, MLC Master's Leaders Course, what's the ones, SLC, MLC, all those courses we took,
Yeah.
especially in our career field,
Yeah.
which focused on communication. I took all that and I put it in a little book. Now, will it ever sell a lot? Probably not until I become big. But, dude, go ahead.
I would say this parlays too into like a conversation we had before you retired about setting up our little leadership course and all this stuff.
Yes.
I think there's still a lot of potential, and then
Dude, I've
if
already
you're listening to this
started.
podcast and you're interested, go ahead and like send us a message. But yeah, no,
Yes.
it's needed. I feel like it's needed. And the thing I experienced and what kind of gave me that idea too is when I was working at this said children's hospital, we had someone come in because we were having office conflict. We had this retired master sergeant or sergeant major come in. He was working for the local university, some contract, and they paid him to come in and just do this pretty basic ass thing, honestly. And I ain't basic. You're not basic. Like, I'm like, we would do
But
really well with that
they
kind of
thought it
thing,
was great, right?
Yeah, they're like, and then some of the others in there, they're just like, God, Lee, it's so great. I'm going to take away a lot from that. I'm really going to change things. Bro, a week later, it's the same. It doesn't matter. I have a cousin, an engineer in Austin, who his firm has sent them to Atlanta to some leadership class thing that they all went to. And I'm like, how much they pay for that? And like, it's got to be crazy. But the point is, I think it's needed because you go back to what you experience outside. Like it's just, I have a hard time pinning it on society to a degree because society's designed work as this function, right? Like we're the worker bees and you basically feed each other, but feed the top and your taxes go up here and to these elite guys and they're all running things or whatever, right? That society, it's been like that forever. Roman times beforehand, whatever, it is what it is. It kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But inside of that, I think leadership is natural for some people or it's formed, but it always has to go through a process, whether someone joins sports or they go into scouting or they do like a JROTC or something like that, or maybe they're around just like natural leaders, but a lot of that gets developed unless they are just natural leaders. But still in the same regard, if you're a natural leader and you never put yourself in a position or put in a position to show that, you don't even know and no one else knows. And or they put you in a position to be a leader and you fucking suck and you ruin everything. I'm just saying.
Bro, no, dude. I'm putting it this way. I had a student last semester, ROTC. Now, the class is small group communication, right? I said, dude, and he was shy. He was one of those guys, I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna be quiet. And I was trying to draw some energy out of him, right? And it was his turn to lead the cadets on this activity. I said, okay, so how'd it go? I said, well, they kind of lost confidence in me because I didn't really know. I said, dude, did you use any stuff that we did in class? They said, well, I thought about it, but I wasn't too confident in it. I said, you're about to take over a platoon. You're an E6 in an ROTC program. And when you leave, you're going to be a E6 enlisted grade level 6. You're about to be a second lieutenant, which is the lowest of officers, but begins his time as an officer where he's in control of a platoon, maybe.
Smack dab in leadership position.
Exactly. So if you want your staff sergeant or sergeant first class, E6 or E7, to run your platoon, right? Yeah. And you just be there as a figurehead, continue to be afraid. But I'm teaching you how to talk with small groups, how to lead small groups, so that when you do get in front of these folks, you're equipped with not only the military knowledge, but the civilian knowledge on how to talk to people and how to get them to form norm. I did my TEDx on this.
Okay.
Right? It's called Bruce Tuckman's 5 Stages of
Do me a favor and message that to me after this.
Absolutely.
I'll link it. Okay.
Well, it's not up yet. They haven't edited it yet.
All right.
But Bruce Tuckman's 5 Stages to Communication in Small Groups. You form. Everybody's nice. Everybody's cool. You storm. Somebody, they're habitual line steppers. So you got to have some little anger. You set your norms. Okay, this is how we have to do things in order to accomplish the goal. Then you perform based off of your norms, right? Form, storm, norm, perform, adjourn. Then at some point you leave. In the military, every 3 years, we had to change out, right?
Yep.
And I was saying, use that one theorem to get your point across to these folks. You can do any type of communication you want. but you just can't let your E6 or E7 run your platoon, or you're going to be looked at like, why is he here?
Right. They're gonna put you in a closet and tie you up. I've seen it. I've seen it. Like it's literally happened. Because it's true. And like like at 55th, you probably remember. I don't want to say his full name. He's a very private individual, but it rhymed with the word Bach. Bach Levens, if that makes sense. Remember
Dog,
that
you gotta
guy?
text me that.
Yeah, I
Seriously,
will.
put it in the
So
private chat. We got a private chat right now. Put it in that private chat.
so
Cause
we had this
oh yeah, I know who you're talking
okay,
about.
yeah, little baby
I know who
lieutenant
you're
showed up
talking
at one
about.
point. Yep. And he's from Houston. And so he was a little baby lieutenant and
Yeah.
whenever so I'll quickly run through this. So I was going on a deployment with my platoon. I had an injury that I was kind of hiding, but it was in my records. And whenever they were screening us to deploy, they found it and they were like, "You can't go, bro." And I was like, "What do you?" Yeah, I can. I'm walking. They're like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah." But you're like, I had a ligament that was like ready to like just split off of my hip and whatever. And they're like, "Yeah, but this happens. Your leg's gonna fall off, and then you know you could risk people getting hurt." And I was like, "That's kind of like pretentious to you think that's gonna happen." But anyway,
Mhm.
long story short, I got sent back to Fort Meade, and it sucked. And I hit a wall of depression. I had just it was really bad times for me. I would sit alone in our platoon CP sometimes. No one else is in there. I had
Mhm.
nothing to do. They were like, "What do we do with this guy?" I don't know. I was on Vicodin, probably some antidepressant, some bullshit. I wasn't sleeping, so I was just sitting in a room by myself while at work doing jack shit. One
Mm.
day, this baby lieutenant walks in, is just like, "Hey man, you looking for some stuff to do?" And I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?" I was like, "Why are you asking me? What does that mean?" And he's like, "Well, I guess I had spitballed the idea for the IMT around a little bit, and
Mhm.
he heard about it, and he was like, 'I heard that you want to do this, and I'd like to help you do it.'" And I was like, "Well, this is what I need." And he's like, "Well, if I can help you get this stuff, can we do it?" And I was like, "I hope so, whatever." I gave him a list of things we needed to do. This MFer went and stood at either parade rest or attention outside of the CEO's office for like 30 minutes at least, dude, until he called him in. And I would walk up and I was like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Just waiting to be called in." And I was like, "All right." I'm like, "This guy, I was like, this guy." And so he did, but he was a huge helper for me to get that going because that was his
Yeah.
charge. He was just like, he wanted to do something for one. And then he saw this
The
NCO that was
idea.
just like,
Yeah.
uh this guy's coming here, but what's he doing? And because I really, dude, I was lost at that time. I was like, man, all my soldiers just went down range. I'm back here for some obscure injury, that like I don't know. I mean, it affected me, but at the same time it didn't. I had to go down to Walter Reed and see a surgeon, and then he was basically like, "I can operate on this, but if I do, you're gonna have this ball of pain in your side for like the rest of your life." He's like,
Mhm.
"Or you take care of you, and I put you on your permanent profile. You stop doing A, B, and C or whatever." And
Mhm.
he's like, "Because you have to take care of you." Because he was great. He was this O6. He had performed surgeries on guys coming back from OAF, OEF,
Mhm.
missing limbs and shit. And he's like, "You don't want to ever feel what these guys feel." He's like, you just don't. And he's like, "If you can therapy through it or whatever," he's like, "You do." Again, therapy, right? And so, of course, that was physical. But point being is like, it was like, take care of you and all that, dude. That was a big spark for me too. So, the baby lieutenant who
Mhm.
really just said, I gotta do this, and we ended up forming our little section and stuff like that. And he credited me with stuff I taught him or whatever, and like I was always like, "I didn't do that." He's like, "Yeah, yeah, you did." And it helped him out. And then he started really like running things, but it helped him get where he was going. And I'm not trying to give myself kudos here, but your point being about like a little baby lieutenant coming into an environment where if you want to get
Mhm.
respect from your guys, you fucking get to work. And you
Yes.
don't come in there just to say, "I'm here to approve or disapprove your leave or your awards or whatever." It's like, yeah, we all
Mhm.
know you do that shit. But what we need from you is to make sure we have what we need, our gear, we have the right people in place, that you're sending us to schools, like those kind of things. And man, and that goes a long way. And
Absolutely.
communicating. Yeah, just communicating. Because we spend a lot of time, corporations do, the military does, a lot of time on how to outwardly communicate. And when people aren't good at it, it really shows. I mean, we have
Yes.
highest of the highest people on the planet who can't communicate like normal human beings, and it's hurting all of us,
Yes.
and again, not to dive too deep, I mean, we could, but I'm trying to do this like a personality interview thing, but like,
However you want to roll, bro.
but it does, it affects your psyche. And now we have to start
Absolutely.
thinking as like, one day I would like to live in Portugal as an expat. That's like my long-term goal,
Really?
when I'm in my like around 60 or something like that, I hope to move to Portugal. But
So another 10
I'm sitting there
years?
going, yeah, about 10, 13 years. Yeah. So my youngest is 10. I've looking for him to be 18. It's always been move to Florida. I always want to move to Florida. But now I'm kind of like, I think I want to like I want to go where the weather's really good
Yeah.
and the living's pretty good. But you start thinking about things long term.
Yeah.
We like our country has become this country where we're rejecting immigration. So when you want to go live somewhere else, how are they going to treat you? They might do the same.
Absolutely.
We don't want you here. Get out of here.
Absolutely.
You're an American. We don't want you here. Like, and that's and I try to talk to some people about this, but it's hard because you got people that are really like dug in,
Man.
But Americans, we get the government. I don't want to say we asked for, but
No,
a lot of
it
times
is.
people don't fight, and then you end up with this, and you're like, son of a bitch. And then you have people who are like trying to justify it nonstop. Well, justify your $6 at the pump for every gallon, my guy. Or I was gonna buy a steak yesterday, and I was like, man, I ain't paying that money for that steak.
No.
Like $16 a fucking whatever.
Dude.
Crazy.
What you're saying is so true and so relevant right now. And it goes to my personality and your personality as well. It's like people, and we've been talking politics, mine as well.
Yeah.
People became one policy voters a while ago.
Sure.
And until it affects them directly, they don't care what happens to anyone else. And that goes back to us being leaders and us being non-commissioned officers who care more about the soldiers and everyone else than ourselves, because that's what our charge is, right? No one is more professional than I. I'm a non-commissioned officer, leader of the soldiers, so on and so forth. We NCO Creed, right?
Et cetera.
Et cetera, right? But the thing about that is, you can claim it, you can say it, but do you live it and do you mean it? And if you live it and you mean it in your personal life, that has to apply.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, as a person, people might say I'm vain, I'm this. I'm like, no. Yeah, I think I look good. Yeah. What am I supposed to think? I'm ugly? But I also look at what old boy or old girl is going through. And yes, sometimes I got to bring the hammer down because you're doing stupid stuff, but it's for the benefit of you.
Mm-hmm.
In the long run. People are so microwave right now, or growing up, like when we were coming up, our soldiers were microwave. Nowadays, these kids are ultra microwave. Now. This is what I want. And for me, I'll be 50 in May. And my mom is 70.
Mm-hmm.
She's going through a lot. And if you read my memoir, she went through a lot when I was a little kid. But all that stuff created me to be who I am today.
Right.
And that the ideas and the mindset that I have today, some people don't get it. They don't understand that, hey guy, don't get mad at me because I'm retired right now and you're still working toward a retirement. Like you said, you might have a retirement at 65. We got a retirement right now.
Yeah. Don't mess with it, buddy.
yeah, bruh. But the point is, we sacrifice a lot so that right now we don't have to be as, hard up for money or situations, because we put our needs second.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yes. So when we have people voting, we have people saying things and getting up in arms about this one thing, but letting other stuff slide. I'm like, hey, you remember when you said, "Oh, I keep receipts. I
Yeah.
keep receipts," but I love my kids, my wife, my pets, my mom, dad passed away. Um, I love this country, but I don't love it to the point where I can say everybody in this country is doing what they claim to be doing, Christ-like, or
Yeah.
Muslim or whatever, because they're not. They're not. If they were, half the stuff that's going on in this country would not be tolerated
Exactly.
whatsoever.
Yeah, you wouldn't have acceptance for people who, if you walk the walk and not just talk it, right, you wouldn't accept others who do not. And this just it boggles my mind. And again, my first 10 years in the Army, I was a chaplain assistant. I mean, I was never, I didn't have super faith, but I had faith, and I still do. I just don't practice it as much as I did when I was younger,
Mhm.
because you end up seeing a lot. And the guy I was talking about, the chaplain that I want to have on, he would when we came back from Iraq, we had soldiers coming in who didn't want to deploy again, and they became conscientious objectors. One of his jobs was to interview them to figure out why, and I sat in on a couple of those interviews. He loved to talk about these things with people. He loved to talk about faith. He loved to talk. He was never insulted if someone said, "Well, I don't believe in God. God's bullshit." He was like, "Well, let's talk about why you feel that way," which I love, and I wish there were more people like that. So the guy walked the
Mhm.
walk, and you're absolutely right. Like, there's just so many people who just turn their blind eye toward these super obvious transgressions. Like, I believe where there's smoke, there's fire. I always have, and it always turns
Mhm.
out to be fairly accurate. Um, it's just, chances are we accept these things for so long, and we get to a point where we are, and no one should act surprised,
No.
because it's just been coming for a long time. And maybe it goes back to like the Reagan era. I don't know. I think before then,
Yeah.
Vietnam, when someone was like, "Hey, let's go to Vietnam," they're like, "Why?" "Yeah, it's fighting because, we don't want that communism to spread and stuff like that." It's like, yeah, but it's way over there. It's way over there. How's it going to affect us?
Bro.
And then they
So
draft, and it's like, and you got young men and women. This is the other thing. I entered the Army in '96. War started in 2001, et cetera, going on. You've got young little terrorists who were babies or born post when that era started, who are now young little terrorists. You have young men and women who are soldiers now that were born in the era
Mhm.
of America being at war. And we know what it looks like. We know what it feels like. So it's like, why would you ever want to put us back in that predicament again? And not only that, but like, man, it just gets more expensive all the time. You're fighting a military who's using, what do they say, like $40,000, $50,000 drones, and you're trying to shoot those down with like multi-million-dollar missiles. That's how America used to fight wars. We did it
Yes.
through attrition. Like, well, we're not gonna like spend all this money. We're not gonna like send so many troops or whatever. We're gonna let you guys just keep hurting yourselves or break yourselves economically. Now we're doing it the wrong way entirely. And this Iran, honestly, dude, Iran's hitting targets that they should be hitting.
Yeah.
Like, the targets they're hitting, you're like, man, they're still very functional. When they're like, "Oh, we degraded them," and blah blah blah, I'm like, the fuck you have? Because if you had, they wouldn't be hitting the targets they're hitting. They tried to
Or
hit
have the
Diego
weaponry.
Garcia. Yeah, like, "Oh, we decimated their ICBMs." No, you didn't, because they just tried to hit Diego Garcia. Now they're talking about supposedly firing towards like England and all this stuff. It's like, it's
Bro,
it's it's tough. It's
I,
tough.
I'm gonna tell you, um, so folks don't know this, but we talked about it off air. So I have a show called Fantasy Sports and Politics podcast. I've been doing it since 2008. The reason why, while we were deployed to uh, Iraq, I don't know if you remember this guy, Rick Del Vecchio.
Yeah.
So he was in my platoon. And throughout the election time frame, he was going with that whole Barack Hussein Obama terrorist, blah, 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 blah thing. And I was like, dude, don't feed into that. Then, the current president says he's not even American, and he rides with that.
His birth certificate shit.
Yes.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're having this debate in the IMT, since you speak about the IMT, the joint IMT, and now it's time to go home, right? And it happens to be election day. We land. Welcome home, blah, blah, blah. First thing we're asking, who won the election? Barack wins. He and a couple bawling. I mean, angrily bawling, right?
Kidding.
And I'm like, are you serious right now? People console me. Yeah, I know, I feel, and I'm like, we just put a I am not mess. These are his words exactly. This is what caused me to start the podcast. We just put a terrorist in the White House. So, Fantasy Sports and Politics began as a political show.
Yeah.
To discuss, because, while in uniform, you can't, outwardly speak about, what's going on in politics. So I have the show. Rick is doing his Republican thing. I'm doing my Democrat thing. We're Hannity and Combs, right? And eventually he stops coming on the show. And then I pivot to more of fantasy sports,
Okay.
less politics. And I turn the show into more of the political side of sports and fantasy.
Yeah.
But that was the impetus of the program. And what happens is January 6th happens. I learned that Rick was one of the people down there.
Really? Wow.
I learned that Rick did not go inside, but was about to go inside.
Good.
And Rick has a ultra right podcast.
Good.
Ultra right. Now, imagine, okay, back when we deployed in because we returned of 08, November, whatever it was of 08, that exact day of the election, up until now. The thing about the military, we're supposed to see nothing but green, right? But the personalities that you learn and you come around during that time frame, it enlightens you to what other people feel and think outside of what we do.
Ultimate melting pot.
Ultimate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So doing the show has become something that was therapeutic for me, right? Because I love sports and I love talking about it. I had different, shows and whatnot throughout the years, and I've met so many different people and networked through so many different things and people that it's helped me develop myself as a broadcaster. That's what also was part of it, because you and I, weren't getting the developmental training needed to be broadcasters while we were at 55th. Because Combat Camera 55th, similar things, different mission, right?
Yeah.
But I say this to say, when you see the world in a different vein or a different light, and you see America the way that we see it, not just that we're, red-blooded Americans, but we're red-blooded Americans who have different views from all walks of life, and we put on a uniform to defend your thought, even though it might go against us personally.
Yeah.
And, I think it helped us, as you said, see the world or our country as a real melting pot and try to say, why can't we just not be so divided? Why can't we just see X, Y, Z? So personally, personal growth is the bottom line.
And it takes time. It does. It takes a lot of time, a lot of experiences. And I think if you're digesting it the way you should, you get to a spot where you understand it. And the military, the melting pot is insane. I can, for the life of me, I could never understand anybody who's in the military who would still be like racist or super
Mm-hmm.
sexist, any of these things. Cause like
Mm-hmm.
you're working beside people from, again, all walks of life. And one of those guys might have to save your life.
Exactly.
And it's just like it's wild, man. And so the United States, the military is a symbol of the United States. Like, the United States is a melting pot. Most countries do not operate that the way we do.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, add that First Amendment right, where people can say whatever they feel like, whether you like it or not. And you have a media that sometimes is very corrupt and bought and just pushing the division,
Mm-hmm.
and it's tough, and I think it's the best. In my mind, it's still the best country to live in.
Yes.
I've been in some other countries and they're nice and they're good and all stuff. But like, man, when I was in Korea, I would go places and think, like, these are some racial warfare. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
they don't like you sometimes coming in places, and it's because of how you look. Like, growing up as a young black man, going to certain places, you obviously have had that feeling over time throughout your life, right? Like for me,
Yes.
the experience has been very slim and rare, but when I feel it, I feel it. And I'm thinking, like,
Yes.
God damn. Like it's a trip, So like there's other countries that are so less tolerant of other cultures and
Cultures.
races
Yes.
and all that stuff. In America, like we're trying to combine it all. And whenever they're just constantly trying to like pull strings to like get us into battles with one another, it's no good, So we have to like look past that one way or the other. Faith is one way, I think just being a good human is another. I obviously like
Mm-hmm.
to travel, I take my son a lot. We go to Disney, and that's one of the things with my older two sons. I was in the Army active duty like most of their lives, now they're in their early 20s. I'm now taking my younger son on all these adventures, doing all these things that I never got to do with them. And I'm sure part of them, they're like, this son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But that's the trade-off, right? Like I didn't
Yeah.
get to do that stuff, and now I do, and I'm unapologetic about it. And I always invite them. And I've taken them, I like when I can. Now they're getting money and stuff, so I'm like, yeah, you're welcome to come. That
You got to pay your own
yourself.
ticket.
Yeah, Daddy ain't paying for nothing anymore, boys.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
get the Chapter 35 GI Bill, all that stuff. They're getting their school paid for off this off my back, right? So like
Sacrifice.
that was a sacrifice, and now they can go to
Mhm.
school for that and all that stuff. And like, then there's people, man. I've gotten arguments on X, Twitter, with people who are very against our benefits, And I'm like I can understand. Like, you worked at, let's just say, Sam's Club for 20 years, and you're not going to get the benefits we got. But you also
Mhm.
were never really at risk at Sam's Club of like being sent on deployments, and no matter where you're at, and this war right now is even showing it even more so. No matter where you're at risk,
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's other things, constant training exercises, like, stuff like that. And just the stress factor, the op tempo, the fact that one guy could run and come into your space at any moment and just fuck up your day, and
Yeah.
you and I push back, but at a certain point, sometimes it doesn't even matter. One of the big reasons why I decided to retire when I did was when the Army started saying we're going to get back to basics. And I was like, nah, we're past that, bro. Hey, can you come to your unit? You're out of basics. Like, you need to be developing people. And I was at a flag officer command, and we had from our 3-star command, it was pushed down from that sergeant major or whomever, that we would start marching troops around for different shit or whatever, right? And I'm like, we're in a flag officer level, but we ain't getting time for that. Ain't no time for that at all. And so anyway, some of that stuff's kind of started happening, and I was like, nah, that's enough for me, man. I'm like, come out the door. I can't. I didn't want the stress of trying to battle. I had been up for a 1-star position, stuff like that. Didn't get it. It was always this back channel stuff, and I'll talk to you about that offline. But for me, I was like, I'm going to live to fight another day. There's other people that can take up this mantle and go for it. And even after retired, I was getting phone calls for stupid stuff too, that I was like, hey man, aren't you an E7 also? You're like,
Bro,
figure it out.
dude, I was retired for a year, and I get a call from a couple captains or majors. Hey, I'm trying to reach. I'm like, sir, I've been retired for a year. Oh, they still got you on here as a contact, Master Sergeant Gardner. I said, yeah, that was a year ago. They haven't changed their contacts.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I can give you this person's, Facebook, and you reach out to them that way. Dude, I'm like, leave me alone. Just because I was that dependable guy, you were that dependable guy, right?
They had you on the roster for what was it called, dude? Staff duty.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
hey, man, you gonna make your staff duty? Like,
bro. I am
yes, I'll be right there.
God,
Wait on me.
dude. No freaking, it happened.
Yeah.
I'm out for like what, 2 months, right? Hey, Sergeant Gardner, where you at? Um, at home. You got staff duty right now. Uh, no, I don't. I retired a couple of months ago. It went in effect on this date. And the other Sergeant Gardner is also retired. So I can't do that for you. Can you? I am retired. I don't know anyone. Have a good day.
Lose this number.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Our benefits are our benefits. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, trust me, we've earned them. I don't care what former service member says, we don't deserve this disability money or this. You saw what happened with the VA when they tried to take away certain things, how that got into a kerfluffle.
Oh yeah.
And all of a sudden now we're
Like
going to
shaking a baby.
rescind this order. Dude, this wasn't supposed to be about military, but I was like,
No, it's all right. It's just like, this is the point. But that's like the quickest way to end your career as a political pundit or whatever is attack veterans, roll it back, whatever you want to do.
dude.
Like, if you want to talk about like the January 6th thing and all that stuff, dude, mess with like veterans shit, and we'll all be there. And
Yes.
I don't agree with that date. What that day, like anything that happened that day whatsoever. The only thing that I'll say, well, I guess they were standing up for what they believed in, or what they were told to believe in. But you can't. None of it you're getting rich off of these benefits,
No.
And I wasn't smart enough to flood my like TSP, right?
Mhm.
Like a 401k from like an early date. Even though I was dating a girl whose father was like an investment manager guy, and he was like, "Oh, this is really good. You should put $100 a month in there every month, your whole career. By the time you retire, you'll have like $2 million in the bank." I was like, "Yeah, it's stupid. It's stupid." So you retire, what's on your back, basically. But like the benefits are good. But again, whether you are missing two legs, or it's in your mind or whatever it might be, and if you're 100% DV, that money is not making you rich. It's there to like help you. It's just a variety of things. I mean, it's. I don't think it should even need to be explained. I think that it's very little to give up for like the sacrifice of millions upon millions of men and women, and there's plenty who don't get the benefits because they're not around. And I don't know, man. It boggles my mind whenever anyone just like, I don't agree with that. Like, well, I don't care. I don't care that you don't agree with it. You have the right to, but I also have the right to say some things to you that I shouldn't say out loud. That's fine.
I got a medical prescription because I say those things.
I'm running an experiment on X right now where I went ahead and paid for the blue check mark because I want to see, because I talk shit, and I wanted to see if my shit talking could be elevated, because of that blue check mark, because that's all it is. It's the pay to play thing,
Yeah.
And I see some of the stuff that these big talking head people or whatever like put out. I'm like, this guy, how did this guy have like 400,000 followers? Like, this guy just talks nonsense, And so I'm running this experiment. I did like a 50% off thing for 2 months, and then I'm going to can it, because I really kind of loathe it at this point. It's not real. There's too many bots. It's every, like a sports post, for example, will have like CJ Stroud. And I've actually seen this on Facebook lately. For whatever reason, like the NFL was like posting these CJ Stroud clips for the last 24 hours. And Houston Texans fans were like, "Hey, is something going on? They talking about moving this guy or what? They're trying to pump him up." And neither here nor there. But underneath that, it's just these weird bot comments like, "Wow, see, you're showing his what do you call it, from Indianapolis? His combine, his pro day or whatever.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Throwing, no one's covered or whatever, and he's still like receivers are having to jump for the ball." But people are like, man, CJ was on that day. It was amazing. That's what led to his second pick of the draft or whatever. It's just these very bot comments, just filled, like X is filled with them, so that's keeping it afloat. And it's just, it could be it's such a cool tool, and Facebook can be such a cool tool, but at the same time, it's also a poison pill, especially if you're just digesting it, ingesting it and believing it,
You are so right. Only reason why I have the blue check mark is because that's the only way you can live stream onto X. That's the only reason, right? I see so much, I see so much stuff like what you're talking about. And I'm like, dude, before I left the military, I told JBLM, Joint Base Lewis McCourt, the Public Affairs, we probably need to get on Threads. They're like, nobody's on Threads. Who cares about Threads?
They will be.
And look, Threads is just as popular and is a bigger platform, not a bigger platform, but a big platform for folks to not get the propaganda of this, that, and the third. And I'm like, dude, y'all got to think forward, not current.
Yeah.
And like you said, I talk my talk. I do. And somebody want to come at me, cool. But bring your facts. And I invite you back onto the show. If you are a bot or a person making those comments on X or wherever, I'm like, here's the show invite. Come on live and debate me. Just be, don't sit behind a keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you on that, my brother.
Plug it away, because we're gonna, I guess we should probably shut it down now. I'm trying to stick to like an hour-ish on these episodes.
I'm sorry.
No, dude, I used to record for 2 to 3 hours sometimes, because it's like the conversation's good and you can keep going and going and going. But then I'm not watching 2 hours of anybody talk. Like I used to try to do it, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like a Rogan podcast, they're always like 2 to 3 hours. That'll take you like a month to watch, man. Who's sitting around watching that whole thing, and then you're missing out on some other good episodes. If it's someone really, really good, like Billy Bob Thornton, or like, I don't know, just someone really good that I want to hear from, I'll watch it. But it's still, I gotta spice it up, man. I have time. Don't get me wrong, but there's other shit I want to do, And I'm in a house full of distractions, as my good friend Nick says. He's always on the road traveling the country, and he'll come here and he's like, bro, if I lived here, I'd get nothing done.
Him and that damn dog of his.
Yeah,
him and that damn
everywhere.
dog.
If I'm planning a trip and I'm like, let's meet up, I'm always having to keep her in mind, So that's like his lifeline,
Yes.
And that's like what everybody, I think it takes time, and for him too. I put all his business out there, but it took him time to realize what he needed post-military to survive. And part of it's that, just traveling, being with that pup and everything, And it's like, we all end up with, like, I think, some kind of emotional dependency that we need to get by. And that's not necessarily unhealthy. It's unhealthy if it's something abusive, But whenever it's just something that you love and loves you back, and, you can take care of or build or whatever, I think those things are important. And, I want to come on your show sometime, because
Absolutely.
I love talking baseball and football, but NCAA's March Madness is going on right now.
Yeah, but baseball's right around the corner, and I'm all about it.
Out the door. Alabama slapped the shit out of Tech. Texas winning was a surprise. Florida going down, what the hell? But that clears the path a little bit for UH, man. So like, hopefully, maybe the Cougs do it this year.
They're going to the championship, I think.
They get close. Yeah, like last year was a disappointment to me. Like, they should have beaten Florida.
Yes.
They were superiorly talented. This year I thought Florida was like really talented, and then they, but yeah, they're strong, man. And I'd love to see it, because Kelvin Sampson, like, he never won a title before, right? Like, he was at OSU and all that. Yeah.
No, not OS. He was at Oklahoma. And
okay, yeah.
Some little scandal that ended up being what they said it was, cost him his job. But then he went and he's turned Houston's program around. I'm afraid they're going to make it to the championship again, and either Michigan is going to beat them or Arizona, because they play each other, right? They're familiar.
Yeah.
But Arizona is a very good team. If they get past Michigan, I think it's going to be Michigan and Arizona out of that bracket. I think it's going to be St. John's and Houston out of the other bracket, and we'll see who goes to the championship. But yeah, dude, Jason Kucera, my friend. Uh, and tell Nick I said what's up. He stopped
Sure.
following me, I think. I don't know
Think so?
why. I haven't seen nothing from him lately.
Yeah.
But
Maybe you have him muted.
no, I never.
I'm tired of seeing your dog.
No, it's certain people I have muted or I deleted, but he's not
Yeah.
one of them. But yes, come on anytime you want. Show's called Fantasy Sports and Politics. Normally I do a show Sunday mornings. I because I'm coaching now. Sundays is like my one day I don't do anything. So if you want to come on, that's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, every Sunday morning, you're central, but it is about 9 a.m. Pacific Mountain Time, which is 12 noon East Coast time. So I think that puts y'all at like 11
Yeah.
when I go.
I
But
felt dumb this morning whenever like your mountain time, but do you guys not do daylight savings in
No,
Arizona, right?
we
Okay, that's
don't.
what it's not. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's why now
certain
you're the same as
parts.
Pacific, but yeah,
Well, we are Pacific time now, but like
technically.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was just like uh four a 4 hour thing, but now it's back to 3 hours. Don't worry about it. But yes, come on, bro. Whenever you want, standing invitation, not a problem. Talk about baseball, football, basketball, MMA, whatever it is you want to talk about, you let me know. I'll schedule the show. It doesn't have to be Sunday. We can record it and I can air it or whatever the
Right.
case may be, or we can go live. I love live because people ask questions.
Right. Yeah. No, I did too. I'll eventually do some lives with this, I think.
Mhm.
What my goal is to front load a few episodes. So whomever, like when you're watching this, it may not be the first, it may not be the second, or it might be the first, who's to say. But I'll probably push out 3 or 4 episodes at once and then start, I really want to have something come out every week. I think that's one of the hardest things with podcasting is the consistency. And I want to have guests. I can talk to myself all day long, but
Yes.
I want to talk to other people because I think people are interesting. Okay, not everybody. I have some neighbors that look at and just think you got to be boring, but for the most part, everybody has a really good, unique story. We come from all walks of life. I'll probably interview a lot of veterans. I'm trying to get with Kieran Cudahy. He's over,
Okay.
dude's out in Bali, like living in Indonesia, and so we're like,
Wow.
talk about a time zone, but like, so we're trying to sync up, and he's traveling. Find his Instagram, follow it. It's really good. He's
Okay.
posting. I mean, he's so fucking talented. That guy was so talented. He was probably the most talented photographer, videographer at 55th. And I don't know. I don't know how much love he got or whatever. What I remember. So 55th was it was a time, but
Mhm.
partied a little bit. But there were some times like I was sitting out on his backyard talking till the sun came up. We weren't wasted drunk. We'd have a few drinks, but we would just talk, man. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying about that unit, the camaraderie. I really didn't experience that anywhere else. Just that kind of camaraderie with people,
Same here, bro.
Didn't love everyone. And just real
Same
quick,
here.
and then we'll leave out of here, is going back to like a little bit of that public affairs and that ComCam thing. I don't know if you remember when I brought the public affairs sergeant major to the unit and he was to meet all of us. I think you were there because we had like the 3 or 4 of us were there.
Mhm.
Prater
Mhm.
was his name.
Yeah.
And it brought in the our career field manager, Betancourt. Yeah.
Yes.
I ended up,
Yes.
that's why I got into it later. But anyway, so they came to the unit and there was somebody, I think from your platoon, like the E7 or an E6, someone like that, or maybe it was it wasn't our first sergeant, but it was like an E7, I think. Start talking shit to him. Like was just all, oh, what you doing here, Prater? Just this weird stuff. And they took me in a room separately because I felt awkward. I was like, hey man, what the fuck you doing? Like
Yeah.
this is the sergeant major of our career field. Why are you talking shit? And they said, this is because we had conversations. This is stuff I never understood, right? I was new in the career field, came to ComCam. They were like, this is what we're talking about. This is why we want to get you guys out of this unit because they think that we're crap. They don't want anything to do with us, this and that. They were trying to get our MOS
Separated.
deleted from ComCam.
Yeah. Yeah.
So joke's on them now. Ha! So talk all that
I
shit
was
if you
there.
want to.
I was there for that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Sergeant Simmons. I mean, not Simmons. Sergeant Clemens. It wasn't him. I'm not sure if it was Hines or I don't know if it's from third platoon,
It was an
but
old hat. Yeah, it was an old hat, and I don't remember who it was.
he knew him, and
Yeah,
I recall what you're talking about. I
yeah.
wasn't in the room with
I
when
was
you got,
like,
but see,
how,
they were
why
like,
would
you got
you?
to let us know that you bring in your proponent sergeant major. It's
Yeah.
like,
Which I think I let our first sergeant know, and like like I let those people know,
yeah,
but it was like not everybody in the, because it wasn't for everybody in the building,
no, it was
It
for
was just
us.
yeah. And in hindsight, being always what it was, we should have gone and met him up at APAC, something like that.
No, nope. He needed to see how we were getting treated.
Well, then that too, yeah,
That dude, the fact that he was willing to come see us and see us in our environment,
yeah.
that spoke volumes because it's not like we're just talking about what's going
Just
on.
complaining, yeah, because
Yeah,
that's how I felt. I was like, these guys probably just think I'm complaining because who motivated me to reach out to him and our career manager was Mike Levine, who is the guy that brought me
yeah,
into the career field. He
yeah,
recruited me into broadcasting, and so like and he's like us,
yes.
and
Cost him his job.
great guy, dude. Like
Yeah,
shit happens, like,
it is
but
what it is.
he was one of those vocal people behind me that was always like, if you don't stand up for your dudes, no one's going to,
Nope.
until they at least like have the mouthpiece to do so or whatever. But like, I always appreciate that. So again, going back to the leadership, the good leadership that you have in your career that helps you become a good leader, and the bad ones that you run into that you remember, and you're like, never going to be like that guy,
Mm-hmm.
because I know I read through NCOER as a 55th because that was part of my job at some point, and I know who could spell and who couldn't. So that was enough for me, dude. That was enough for me. I was like, y'all know there's a spell check on this. You can't even spell check that, but you're gonna tell me that you like. I was like, nah, dog. Like,
Yeah, he's a 4. Nah,
yeah,
nah.
it's something else, man. But anyway, again, Vic, thank you so much for coming on. We really
Absolutely.
appreciate it. For being flexible, for being here, all that kind of good stuff. At some point, I got to roll out your way because I want to come out that way and just visit the area and stuff like that. I love traveling, dude. That's part of my shtick now,
Well,
So,
let me know when you want to come. That's easy. That's easy.
Yeah.
Let me know.
All right, my brother. So again, thank you for coming on, and
Too
we'll
easy.
catch you in the next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, another podcast with Jason Kucera is going to be hot like fish grease. I'm telling you. He's a good dude. I enjoy coming on, catching up with a friend, not just a colleague, but a friend. And always, whenever you need me, bro, reach out. Reach out.
For sure.
Thanks for listening to this episode. It's sponsored by the following illustrious sponsor, Wandering with Jason Kucera. If you're thinking about taking that trip, contact me to help you plan it out and book it. There are so many great deals on travel right now, and I can get you to anywhere you'd like to go. Disney World, Disneyland, Universal Orlando, Mexico, go on a cruise, go to South America, maybe take a trip to Antarctica. Who's to say? Email me at jasonk@wanderkeep.com or hit me up on the socials.